Hello everyone, my name is Richa Mahajan, Assistant Professor, Department of Journalism and Mass Communication for Jagan Nath University, Jaipur. Today my topic is composition, seeing well. What is composition and what composition plays a role in the photography? We are going to talk about in this lecture. Composition and seeing well are really the heart of what this course is about. All successful images are composed so that different elements in a photograph come together to tell a story. Composition involves looking and thinking and then deciding what it is and what it is you want to say with your pictures. It's one way of making order out of the chaos of life, but it's also perhaps the hardest thing about photography to master. Just about anybody can master nice light, focus, and exposure, but it takes patience, thought, and honest self criticism to learn how to make well composed photos. Introduction to composition. There are times when your subject matter is so interesting, a stuntman on fire, for example, that no matter how you frame it, it won't be boring. Most of the time, however, you are trying to capture the everyday in a way that's worthwhile to look at. That's a tall order. A photo of a bear catching a fish offers some hints about good composition. The bear was shot in soft light with a long lens to clean up the background. Its head and the fish are outlined perfectly against the white water. Good pictures, generally speaking, are well framed, whether you are using an advanced SLR or a point and shoot camera. Shooting with film or digitally framing with the viewfinder is the first and most critical step in getting a good photo. Photo analysis bubble series. Let's analyze a series of pictures of a boy blowing bubbles on a summer day. How can we tone down the visually cluttered background of this scene and focus attention on the boy? Next is, first think about the light. In this case, the day was overcast. So the light was fine, but moving around the subject didn't eliminate background distractions. This situation calls for less depth of field and thus a bigger lens, a 70 to 200 mm or even 200 to 400 mm. Stepping physically closer also unfocuses the background even more from the subject. With the background nothing more than a wash of soft color, the next step is simply to work the scene. Take your time and shoot multiple images to get a shot that looks professional. Keep this maximum in mind. If it's in your picture, it's working either for you or against you. If you have distracting elements in your photograph, figure out how to get rid of them. Move the subject if possible. Change your angle, change your perspective, change your lens, and get closer to the subject. Every proportion of your image counts and every element must be there for a reason. Don't keep things in your pictures just because you didn't take the time to figure out how to eliminate them. If something is in your picture, it should be there because it's what you want, not because you could not solve the visual problem. Another series, this one of kid on a trip to the grocery store, again shows how a photographer works a scene to get a good photo. First find the direction where the light looks best, look for what you want in the background and change lenses if necessary to blur the background. Always think about what's inside the viewfinder and take the time to experiment. Next is the rule of thirds. The rule of thirds has been applied by artists since the time of Renaissance to dramatically improve composition. Imagine a tic-tac-toe board dividing an image into thirds vertically and horizontally. The 4 points where those line intersects are the power points at the top right, top left, top bottom right, bottom left. In an image of a mother and a daughter positioning their face on the top right power point and their hands on the lower power point makes for an aesthetically strong composition. As you gain experience, you will learn to apply the rule of thirds intuitively to create dynamic tension in your photos. Centering your subject is acceptable, but often putting them to the side is even better. The more pictures you run through your camera, the better feel you will get for this rule of composition. In a series of photos of pig, note that there is not something going on in every corner, but the rule of thirds holds the photos together compositionally. Keep in mind too that you still need to think about other elements. Soft light, a clean background as you shoot. With this rule, you can make interesting pictures even without an exotic subject. Vertical framing. Next, we will talk about vertical framing. Vertical framing is another way to switch up the composition of your picture and create dynamic images. A horizontal image of a giraffe does not really emphasize the height of these creatures, but vertical framing highlights the elevated quality of the giraffe's neck. In a photo of a baby at a window, notice all the elements in the image that suggest vertical framing. Vertical lines under the baby feet, his upright stance, vertical lines behind him, even the vertical stripes on the cushion. In an image of a mountain goat licking salt off the rocks in Glacier Park, vertical framing shows how high up the goat is on the cliff walls, adding interest and tension to the frame. In fact, the whole point of the picture is the vertical nature of the situation. In fact, the animal will die if it slips and falls. Look for opportunities where shooting vertically will make your composition or storytelling stronger. Photography is hard. How photography is hard? In order to improve your photographs, you need to evaluate them honestly and critically. You need to judge every aspect and elements of your images to determine what works and what does not. Be your own toughest critic and never be satisfied. No one will care more about your photographs than you do. Those who can't see what their work is lacking will never get any better. Nothing changes human beings faster than being a little uncomfortable. If you want your photography to improve, then get uncomfortable with the level you are at now. If you make yourself uncomfortable enough mentally, you will force yourself to do a better job. That's all for the day. Thank you so much.